Right, let's do a wee test. It should be okay. My old levels are in green, so it should be okay, but I'll just double check.
Right.
It's like the old days, isn't it? This is like last year.
Oh no, if it feels like fucking longer. It's all this shit.
Fine to me, that those audio levels. They seem fine to me.
Alright, that's cool. Alright.
Right, let's go into here then. Right. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to something that we've not done for a while, Miller. Just
Yes.
sat down and spoke about football. Mainly because I've been partying for the last 12 months.
Yes.
But it's all going wrong for both our clubs at the moment, isn't it, mate? It's not going well at all. But I think I want to start with you because, of course, your manager, your legend, the player everyone claims is better than Steven Gerrard is gone.
Oh, dear Lord.
What's your thoughts?
My thoughts were quite mixed, to be fair. I was kind of sitting going, I was chatting to a couple of pals, I was like, last season was great. Obviously because most of last season we were doing podcasts and I was quite happy championing most of those podcasts. But this season has not been quite the same. It's been quite negative. We started off quite alright. We're top at one point, but I suppose everyone's been top at one point this season. Fucking, it's all went just completely wrong. We get good results in the Champions League. We didn't really have a tough group, but Sevilla are still in there. The league, I know the league's been a bit jumpy, but we kind of looked like we were getting somewhere, but players just haven't been performing. The signings haven't been performing. The young players, I feel the young players are still performing. I feel they're the players that have been kind of carrying. Mason Mount's been having great performances. Abraham's been alright. Yeah, scored a hat trick the other day, but that's against low level opposition, so you expect it. Reece James, he's showed enough. I think he's missed a couple of games through injuries, but he's been alright. He's been good. But the dead weight, it shows. We knew that already, but players like Werner not taking chances, can't finish his dinner. Havertz, I've still got faith in Havertz a bit. It's just Werner who I'm a bit more pissed at because he's missing proper sitters, like open goals, Torres-esque. So he's the one that I'm kind of like off the rag with. But it had to happen eventually. I think you said that last week. I was like, I think it's time for Lampard to go. I didn't want him to go down to he's shit and all that. He needs to go. I was kind of sitting going, I could not even tell you what his philosophy was. Obviously, his plan is to bring through young players, build a young team for the future, which he's done. I think that's what he's succeeded at. If we look back at Lampard's managerial tenure, it will be he accepted the job when no one else would. I mean, how can you turn down a job, especially when it's Chelsea? Because I don't think he would have got the opportunity again.
No.
He brought through players who were in the Championship the season prior, i.e. Tomori and Mount, who you could say arguably were in the top 5 best players last season because obviously we didn't have a lot. It was mostly dead weight and young players, and the young players are the ones who are performing. you can't even say during the transfer ban, most of the players he brought through were new signings. There was Mount, new signing, captain the team the other day, completely different player, new signing. Tomori, last season he was great. This season not so much. He's away to AC Milan. Good luck to him. Uh, Abraham, last season he was first half of last season he was one of the best strikers in the Prem. He kind of fell off a bit, but he's still scoring here and then. Not completely disappointing. He's still scoring goals. Uh, and there's Reece James, who is just amazing. He's just been fantastic. He's a new signing as well. A successor to Azpilicueta, who still kind of features a bit. Who, well, now this is where I'll go into it. So Tuchel will be our next manager. I believe that's the case. I don't want it. I don't. It's not my first choice. But what can you do? Once Roman makes up his mind, it's kind of set in stone.
Yeah.
But the problem I do have with him being manager is he kind of falls out with everyone who runs these clubs he's at. He fell out with Mainz. He fell out at Dortmund. He fell out at PSG. So I'm kind of sitting going, why would you want to hire a manager who is going to be difficult with you? Because Roman doesn't like difficult managers. We've seen that with Mourinho. We've seen that he said that he had problems with Ancelotti also. Even though Ancelotti won a double, he still sacked him the season after. So it's going to be difficult. Tuchel is he's a tactician, but at the same time, he's not. I don't think he's the right guy to take us forward. But see, we feel no manager can take us forward in a project because we are a team where we have a manager every 6 months to a year and a half, 2 years max. Then we switch again because the wheel needs to keep moving. We need to keep winning and winning and winning, but we can't do that with a manager that stays for 5, 10 years because that's just not who we are. Like with yous, for example, yous brought in Klopp, who inherited, pardon my French, a shit team. And now look at yous. Like, what is there? Is there even 5 players out of that squad where Barini, Balotelli, and Lambert were your front three?
God, those were the days. Lallana in there as well. Lallana when he used to play out wide for us as well.
Yeah, like that at that point, right? That was your level of players to bring in. Like the best player you would get is the best player from Southampton, which you brought in Van Dijk. Now he's one of the best defenders in the world, so we can't really complain about that.
No.
But
And Mane, don't forget Mane.
and Manny, of course. But your squad from there and to now wasn't built overnight. It was built in about what was it, 3, 4 seasons, or a few
Yeah,
seasons.
yeah, it was a four season project pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, like Klopp, who was already an accomplished manager before he came to use, he had 3, 4 years to win, to go from where he's were to winning trophies, Champions League, the big one, the best one, the Super Bowl of our sport. Then winning the league for the first time in God knows how long. But Lampard can't get that same effect, even though he's a club legend. He can't get that time because that's not how Chelsea runs. So,
Well, I think you mentioned it, didn't you? Like Chelsea have not had a manager last longer than 2 or 3 years through Abramovich's entire reign, so it's just the way you operate.
yeah,
You chop and change managers whenever it gets tough, or obviously if he falls out with the owner, they don't seem to go off. Forget that relationship. If they're doing well on the pitch, we'll leave them to it. There always seems to be some type of problem that arises at Chelsea. I was I was disappointed to see Chelsea had sat Lampard. I wasn't surprised. I was very disappointed because I think last season, yes, she had the transfer ban. I think what Lampard done was very, very good. Got us to an FA
yes,
Cup final, got us into top four without being able to sign anybody. But they gave him £250 million to spend. And once they done that, the expectation levels just was ridiculous. And for a very inexperienced manager, he couldn't. I feel like even though Lampard is obviously a big name in football, I don't think some of those players in that team respected him enough as a coach to listen to him when he suggested when he suggested to play a certain way, or
Yeah,
if he dropped a certain player at this type of time. They never had the respect of Lampard's been a manager for this many years and whatnot. I think some of those players thought, oh, he's had a year at Derby, or, got him to the playoff final, didn't get up, and then because he's a Chelsea legend, he's been given this job, so why am I going to listen to him?
yeah, I completely agree with you. There is a good few players who have been outed as being not moles, but sticking the knife in, as you'd say. Rudiger's one of them. I'm not afraid to go out and blast here. The guy's a cunt. Not a big fan of Rudiger. I used to be, but he was one that at the start of the season you could say he was kind of a director of football. He was getting all the Germans on site and saying, come to Chelsea, and all that. But then when he wasn't getting a game because we had much better centre backs, he started getting all pissy, and eventually, and just I think he just opened his mouth and just kept blabbing and blabbing and blabbing until Lampard kind of lost the dressing room. There's a good few players who I look at and go, in fact, I will say this: there's no player that Lampard left out that I went, he shouldn't be left out.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a fact. Rudiger, I was saying, he was good a couple of seasons ago. He's not now. He sometimes leaves out Giroud, but then when he brings on Giroud and he scores, he then goes, "Oh, this is working. I'll continue to do this." And then
Yeah.
if Giroud starts a game, then scores a hat trick in the Champions League, he goes, "That's the level. Use him for this competition. Use Abraham for this competition," and it works. But you know, he's had quite a lot. He's inherited a lot of mess as well. Like think about the whole Kepa situation,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Now this was one of the situations where I was like, this could be Lampard's time to go because he had Kepa doing horrible, still shit. Then he brings in
Mendy.
Mendy, who at the start Mendy was good. Right now, no. Then you have this. This is where it all lost the plot. You didn't have Petr Cech coming out of retirement as an emergency goalie.
I enjoyed that bit.
Now I loved it because I was like, "Is this how far? Is this how bad our keeper situation is?" And then Cech comes in, and I'm like, "Oh dear lord! Like we're a big team, man. We're fucking one of the successful teams in the era of the 2000s. How are we going through this situation? Because we 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 have the money to go right, bring in an Oblak or bring in a goalkeeper from the Bundesliga, like a bad, messy bastard. Get someone
Listen,
like
we offered you Karius, you wouldn't take him.
that. When I said bad and nasty, I did not mean in talent. I mean, right now I'd probably take fucking Carrius over Kepa. To be fair, we can do a wee swap deal.
Oh,
Uh,
I don't know about that, mate.
and
I'll send you a link to the Champions League final in 2018, and you'll change your mind.
see, this is where like I know people said, "Oh, Lampard's transfers haven't worked." When was the last time a Chelsea transfer actually worked?
Do you know what? That was actually gonna be my next question. Your transfer policy's been pretty poor for quite a while.
Shite.
You offer. Let's go back to so you sign Havertz and Werner, right? Young men, done really really well, respectively in the Bundesliga. You bring them with massive egos for a lot of money, and expect them to hit the ground running, and that's kind of how you've operated. You've spent a big amount of money on the players that are being talked about right now, and they come to Chelsea and they just don't work because they've got too big of an ego.
Yeah, the only transfer that I've kind of went that has worked okay is the Kovacic transfer, because the Kovacic one was quite weird because it involved Courtois and it involved Eden Hazard, it involved weird things. And then he was actually one of our best players the season prior. So I was like, Joe, 40 million, that's all right for him. This season, not so much. I don't really think Cottage has done much this season. So I'm like, oh God, well, that's not really working out. But people saying that Lampard's transfers haven't worked, and that's one of the reasons why I was sad. Sarri's transfers didn't work either.
Mm.
And Sarri at least won a trophy, but his didn't work. So you've got to look and go, do managers need more help, or do managers need more say? Because apparently, this isn't a fact, this is speculation. Lampard, one of the reasons for Lampard's departure is he argued over certain signings and he wanted certain signings in. Now, he wanted to handle the goalkeeping situation a lot differently, but was not allowed to. He wanted to handle Kepa a lot differently, wasn't allowed to. Because Kepa was a situation back when Sarri was there. So,
Mm-hmm.
He inherited that mess because Sarri fucked off and was like, nah, I'm not doing this. Then he wanted to bring in Declan Rice, and this isn't down to the talent of the player. This isn't down to anything. This is down to the price tag of Declan Rice, which is about 80 mil. It was also down because Chelsea refused to sign a academy reject for a big sum. That's basically what they said. They didn't want to sign a player who they rejected because it made him look stupid.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you don't want to look stupid, treat your academy players a lot better. Because look at it now. Lampard's come in. He's made the academy look. Chelsea Academy's always been great, but we never use it.
Yeah,
We
you
use it
just you just
as
ship them on. You just ship on loan, then just sell them after a couple of years. I mean, look at
yeah
Salah
we use
for example.
we use the academy as just it's like the academy is like just a Vitesse team waiting to happen. Because for some people who don't know this, Vitesse used to have Mason Mount in their starting 11.
Mm-hmm.
Mason Mount played for Vitesse when he was a wee youngster. He played for Vitesse, but then he went to England and they done his thing. If Lampard wasn't manager, Mason Mount would not be at Chelsea right now.
Well,
If
not
Lampard wasn't
yeah, yeah.
if Lampard wasn't manager, Reece James wouldn't be here, etc., etc., etc. Now, the problem is, if we bring in Tuchel, will Mason Mount and Reece James, etc., be phased out? I don't think so. I think Reece James is okay. I think Mason Mount is okay. He's kind of established himself. But players like Billy Gilmore, for example, I don't see him. He's a phenomenal player, excellent, one of our best up and coming players. But I feel like he's
Only grew up
not.
20 minutes from where we are doing this podcast from as well, Billy Gilmore.
Yes. I'm not Johnson boy myself, so we have
Mm.
something in common there, Billy. But yeah, uh,
That's the two sides to our Justin. There's Miller and then there's Billy Gilmore.
yeah. There's the white trash, and then there's the white trash, and then there's the Mercedes driving boy. But yeah, I think he's not made it in enough yet to be able to be in the squad, and he's fine. I think he's still considered a youth player. Like if Tuchel comes in, he won't go Billy Gilmore. He won't look at him as an established player like your Mason Mounts, your Tammy Abrahams. He's a year or two late to that
Mhm.
party, so I see him suffering from this more than anyone. And I hope not, because me and my dad, we got Billy starting. We're always checking if Billy's starting. My dad's also from a Johnson, and he's a diehard Chelsea supporter. So we kind of watch out for his progression. But I think he'll fall short of it once Tuchel comes in. Because I think once he comes in, he's going to try build his team, and I think it's because this is the thing. When he was at PSG, he wanted two players, Rudiger and Jorginho. Those are two players he wanted at PSG. So you can already tell who's starting for him. So I don't know. Do we bring him in? Are we trying to bring him in now so we can try and get players in January? Like,
I'm just going to interrupt Jamila very, very quickly because I've just got to give a massive thank you to Jonesy who's just given us a raid of 9 folks. So welcome to the podcast, everyone. I hope you enjoy. And I've hand back to Mel, but I just had to give a little shout out to Jonesy. That's top man. Thank you very much.
lovely.
So
But yeah,
it sounds like this is this is not a Lampard problem. This goes way back to where Bradford first started. You can't keep over a manager for more than a couple of years because they always, not like with Lampard, but look at other managers who've won the league, for example. Remember Conte, wins the league by quite a few points, and no one's near you. The next season, it's all completely different. You're nowhere near the title, and then you get shipped off.
yeah,
So it sounds like that's that kind of problem. Um, I, it's just the way Chelsea operate, I'm afraid, isn't it? I think your problem, the reason Lampard's been sacked this time, is that you spent so much money because you were desperate to close the gap to Liverpool and City far too quickly. Look at Manchester United. They've stuck with Solskjaer for 3 years now or something.
but 2 or
You
3
know,
years. It's about 2.5 seasons, I think it is.
and there's no way I'm going to sit here and tell you that United deserve to be where they are right now because, in my opinion, they don't. I think they are punching way above where they are. But
Yes.
at the same time, it's still been a project. They've every summer they've brought in a couple of players. He's not he's kept the same squad for about a year or two. Added a couple extra. And there's that bond there with the squad now because that's what happens when you stay together for a couple of years or whatnot. But at Chelsea, it seems like the squad changed every 6 months. Um,
Yeah.
I, but I think what Lampard done was that he was forced, for the first time, Chelsea were forced into stuck with the same squad for a year or two because of the transfer ban. And it's weird because I actually started quite enjoying the way Chelsea operated because of that. But then as soon as the transfer ban got undone, you went back to the money.
Yeah.
And I don't think Abramovich has got the patience to do a 2 or 3 year project. So until he, well, until he goes, until someone else buys you, which I don't know if that's ever going to happen. It's just going to keep happening. Time and time
See,
again.
I'm going to clarify this right now. In in no shape or form would I even want Abramovich to sell because what Abramovich has done, Abramovich has brought the team with his assurances, if you like to call it, trophy after trophy after trophy, right? His way is winning, 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 and winning. So his way has shown to work, right?
Hmm.
Conte champion, Jose Mourinho champion, Ancelotti champion, etc., etc., etc. So we've had many different Premier League managers as a champion. So if he wants to, for instance, he brings in Tuchel, then he wins something and then he's gone in a couple of years. Not even that, I don't think. Because as soon as I seen on Sky Sports News Tuchel to be announced as a manager, I've already seen in my head Tuchel sacked by Chelsea. I've already seen it. I accept it. It's going to happen. If it's
Well,
going to happen,
he's been sacked from his last 2 jobs. I don't understand where the hype is from him because he hasn't even done anything yet in management. With Dortmund, I don't think he's done anything. PSG
he
as
won
well. I don't understand where the appeal is for him, if I'm being honest.
he won the German Cup with Dortmund, but he didn't really unlock Dortmund the same way Klopp did. In PSG, he did win the league, but any manager, any PSG manager should be able to win the league. He did get into a Champions League final, but again, you've spent 200 million Neymar, almost the same amount in Mbappe, and the rest of the squad accumulates. So you should be getting the Champions League finals with that amount of money spent. But
let me ask you. Let me ask you this then, right? So Tuchel comes in, right? So you go to the end of the season, he'll probably get you in the top four, whatever it is, right? Next season, is he expected to go and win the league?
I mean, Abramovich wouldn't bring in a manager who's been at other elite clubs and not expect him to win the league.
Yeah.
He wouldn't bring in a manager that got to Champions League final last season and go win the FA Cup next season.
No.
All right. He wants to win the league, and guess what? I want to win the league as well.
It's good.
It's I can tell in your fucking face it's phenomenal. But here's the thing. See, this season would have probably been his best. Would have been if he brought in like a more experienced manager, the start of the season, and the experienced manager brought in players and built his philosophy. This is probably the best fucking season for him for a new manager to go win the title, because all the other teams are crumbling around, and there's not really much consistency. Liverpool didn't score for like a few games, which we'll touch on in a moment. Once we get into Liverpool topic, Man City have been alright. Man United, for as Man United they're top, so that shows how poor it's been. Arsenal are in whatever position. We're in whatever position in obscurity. Spurs are Spurs. They'll fall apart eventually. So this is probably the best season for a new manager to come in and try win. But that was not the case. It's a fact you can't come and spend 200 odd mil and compete with Liverpool and City, because they've got such established managers, and their managers have been there for a few seasons and they've got the money as well. Not much as Liverpool, because I know you still get problems with your owners, but no, you can't come in and spend money and try catch City, because they can go and spend the money themselves, and they've already got so much squad depth and all that, so you can't really compete with them. The only way we'd be able to compete with Man City and Liverpool straight up is we'd have to spend 500 million on a completely different squad and have a style of football solidified, because I could not tell you what Lampard's style of football was.
I couldn't. I couldn't tell you. So it always used to blow my mind. I could never figure out how you wanted to actually play. But you were top 6 weeks ago. After beating Leeds at Stamford Bridge, you were top. So how can it go so? Because so clearly before you went top, things were not too bad. You were top of your Champions League group. You were playing alright football. But 6 weeks later, you're a mess, and it's all gone wrong. What do you think? What do you think exactly changed in the last 6 weeks that have got you into this position?
I think what changed is what remains the same. The players just didn't. Not all the players, because the academy players, I felt, were the only players that fought for Lampard all season. Doesn't mean that they were the best players in the pitch, because they have their off days, as most young players do. But more of the senior players have been there for a long time just don't give a shit. The goalkeeping issue is still an issue, even though we did sign a new goalie. That's still an issue. We're terrible defensively. Can't defend. Can't score either, because a new striker can't score. So if you can't defend, you can't score. How are you supposed to improve?
Well, since you brought up that, I remember sitting in a certain Weatherspoons in our local town.
Dear
And
Lord.
enjoying a wee pint. And a wee Miller who works there comes
No,
over
no.
to me
Don't reveal to them I work there.
and starts taking the piss out of me because they have beaten us to Werner and showed the direction they want to go.
I don't remember that.
Well, you were probably pissed before you started your shift, which I wouldn't blame you for. No,
I wasn't spooked. I was not. Don't listen to him.
oh dear
He
me.
sat on you.
Yeah, I mean, there's also a lot of expectation on Werner because of what he done for Leipzig, and obviously he was meant to be. He was the one striker I think in Europe everyone wanted. There's no, Liverpool. We were apparently in for him, decided not to go for him. But it's weird what's happened to him because for the first couple of weeks of the season, he was quite good. It looked like Chelsea they could be dangerous here. He could be the one that can get them to 20, 25 goals this season, and he could keep them in the run if you like. But
Yeah.
he's just stopped scoring, and Havertz has never ever got going in a Chelsea shirt so far. I remember his debut was against West Brom.
Yeah. He
Away, it
was
was at
shit.
3-0. And I just looked at him and when he is not ready for the Prem. He does not understand how to hold off a ball. He's got no aggression about him at all. He just likes to keep it all fancy, all cute, all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. He did not look a Premier League player. And
He
talking
looked.
to you
He,
now
yeah.
in late January, that opinion hasn't changed.
Yeah. See when I see Havertz on the ball, he looks petrified. He looks frightened. Like he looks like a statue that's just managed to move for the first time, and he's like jittering with the ball, and you don't know what he's gonna do. And then this guy's supposed to be an attacking midfielder, right? But he can't attack really,
Not in the
and he does.
system that he has been playing that midfield because obviously he plays as like a CDM and two centre mids and stuff, and usually Mount plays in that position, so you can't exactly have Mount and Havertz as your two centre mids and maybe a Kovacic or whatever it is a CDM. It just will not work.
Yeah. If you know this was the thing. Tuchel was not my first choice. I don't even think it's my second choice, my third choice, or even fourth. My first choice was the Leipzig manager. However, we can't get him in right now, so I think the only reason we're going for Tuchel is he's the only person who's available who we can actually get. Uh, apparently we did speak to Allegri, but it doesn't really matter who we get in though, because it's always going to be the same thing. We'll come in, they'll come in, they'll build a philosophy, which apparently is this amazing philosophy, Italian or German or Spanish. The Premier League's never seen it before, even though we have. It'll work. It usually does at first. Everything works at first usually, and then it will fail the season after. We'll sack them. Bring somebody else that's apparently got a different philosophy. That'll work. That'll fail. The wheel keeps on spinning, and by then, the squad that Lampard inherited was a squad that was filled with players from 3 different managers who all can't work together because they're from 3 different managers who work 3 different styles. So it's just a mess. We really do need to fix the transfer policy. Keep bringing in the youth. The youth need to keep coming in because Billy Gilmore, when he started getting off, he had a man of the match against you, as I recall. He had a man of the match against Everton, I'm sure, as well.
Mhm.
And I think he had the man of the match in the Champions League.
Mhm.
So, I mean, obviously, Billy Gilmore's not ready to be starting Premier League games on a consistent basis, but he's ready to be in contention because that's no saying that many old players say if you're good enough to play, it doesn't matter what age you are. So,
Yep.
I mean, you know that when Gerrard fucking came into your squad, he was still a young guy.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. I mean, obviously, you can't say your career slow. You've got to hit the ground running. I mean, look at like of Mbappe, Haaland recently. Even Greenwood for United. They've hit the ground running right away, and they've made people take notice of them.
yeah, yeah, and This is what I think I admire City for, because City have kind of nurtured players like Foden, and you can tell that Foden is the future of City, and they shield them, but also they didn't send him out on loan or anything. They didn't chuck him to the side. He was there. He played games. He started some games. Then when it got too much, they shielded them. Then he started games and they shielded them. And now look at him. Foden's probably one of the consistent City players, I think, this season.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. He's been a really
So,
good player.
so he's a phenomenal player. So you've don't. This is what I'm fearing from Tudrickson or whatever, and the policy goes back to no young players, keep buying players, no young players. We need to continue growing the youth. We need to continue that. Obviously, buy players. That's who we are. So we just need to bite the bullet. Keep buying your players, but buy the right ones. Is Tuchel the right manager to come in and build his own team? Don't think so.
Well, I haven't said that. Dan in the chat, he said maybe someone like Zidane. I think he'd be brave enough to stand up to the big names and get the deserved respect. What do you think?
Thanks for the question. I don't know. I think the way that you can go back to the Bale situation also. I don't know how that was handled. The man would rather play golf than play for Madrid.
I would, to be fair.
Yeah, if I had a good putt, then yes. I mean, Zidane's all right, but I don't really want Zidane. I mean,
Okay, tell you what then. Okay, I think I know the answer to this question. So I'll ask two. I'll ask the obvious one first, right? You can have any manager in the world right now. Who'd you take?
I'd take the Leipzig manager.
Okay, that's not the one I was thinking of, but yeah, that's a really good shout. I can't remember his name actually, which is horrendous.
It's
But
like it begins with a K.
yeah, oh, shit, can't remember his
It's
name.
like
Klassman or
Kloloskin
something?
or something like
Yes,
Klosman or something like that.
yeah,
Yeah,
I know you're
it's
on about. All right then. How about a manager that's around right now? Who would you go for?
like if he's even at a team.
No, no, I'm looking so a manager who's free at the moment, or maybe a manager who's on the way out of another club who could potentially come. Someone who you could realistically think could happen. Because I've got one.
Right,
Nuno.
who would you say? Who would you say?
I'd
Nuno.
I'd say Nuno off Wolves. I really would. I think he's done a really good job there. I think he'll get the respect as soon as he walks in there. Very similar in terms of managed Porto like Mourinho did before going to use, except obviously he's gone to Wolves in between that. I think Nuno's a bit fed up at Wolves now. I don't think he feels like he can take them any further. I think obviously this season's
Yeah.
not been anywhere near. They haven't been as feared as they have been the last two seasons. I think he wants to move on, and I think that would have been a good appointment personally.
Yeah,
Connor's just told
I
us
think
it's
that's just fine.
Julian Nagelsmann. That's the Leipzig manager.
Yeah, that's the man. Yeah. Uh, good suggestion. I think he'd be good because he'd sort out the defense first of all. And he's an attacking manager, but also can defend, which I think that's what we need, because we've got great attacking players. Pulisic, Ziyech. Say what you will about how bad they've been. Werner, Havertz. We've got Hudson-Odoi, who's kind of coming out of his shell a wee bit in recent weeks. And if you're looking defensive wise, we've got Kante, who's still one of the best in his position. You've got
Just behind Fabinho.
Jorginho, who can move the ball. What?
Just behind Fabinho.
Yes. Yeah. You've got if a guy like him came in, you've got the foundations to build. And
You
also you've
did,
got
you
money,
did, you did.
Say what you want about Chelsea, but Chelsea have got good players enough that if you get the right manager in and build, then you've got
Yeah,
something there.
you've got the enough good players to go for a challenge. You just need a manager who can find a system to get them all into. I think, we're talking about the signings. I think one signing which has been very, very good from Lampard was getting Thiago Silva on a free.
Oh
I think,
yes, yes.
he's had his moments at times where he's, make a few mistakes, whatnot, but what defender doesn't these days? He's been a revelation, he's been that, if there's been any, he's been that calmness at the back at times, if there's ever been any. So I think that's something Lampard did, which was quite good. Um,
Yeah, anyone can say what they will about Lampard, but Lampard did not get sacked because he was a bad manager. Lampard, this is how you know Lampard's a good manager, because Lampard was more successful without money than with money.
mhm.
So Lampard's more of your modern manager, and that's what the Premier League kind of lacks, because they lack homegrown modern managers who want to be there to build for the long haul. Because Lampard's not your typical Chelsea manager, and that's where he kind of he knew that before he came into the job, but that's where he didn't fail, but that's where he went wrong in his decision, because he knew the job he was walking into. But if Lampard was at any other team, right? Let's say Lampard went to a Aston Villa or a West Ham, whatever, and he get time to kind of get his players, build and build and build, and he had time. He'd be fantastic. He'd be great as a manager. This is where I think he'll have a great managerial career. He's a better manager now than what he was when he came in.
Oh, of course he is,
Despite
absolutely.
despite getting sacked, I think he's a better manager now after getting sacked, because he's had the experience. He's played Champions League football as a manager. He successfully got top four. He knows how to work with youth, because that's what he was the best at. He's dealt with a budget, even though the budget went out of his favour. He still dealt a budget, and he's got a good coaching staff behind him. So, there's no problems there. I hope the next club he goes into is the right fit for him. But Chelsea just wasn't that fit for him, and sadly, we move on, and we just need to. The aim is now maybe try win a trophy, which is kind of a bit steep now, and try, for the love of God, get top four, which I don't see happening either.
Well,
Uh,
it's very tight and tough for. I mean, when you've got like the likes of Southampton, Leicester around there, not just fighting for top four, but technically in the title race and stuff. It's very, very tight. You just could go and get 3 or 4 wins in a row together now, and you'd be right back up there. That's the way this season's worked. Um,
yeah,
it'll be tough, but I think if you can, Tuchel can hit the ground running, because I think that's who you're gonna get. I've heard, Sky Sports, they said it's basically a done deal. He's signed the contract, so we're gonna assume Tuchel's gonna take charge. He's gonna have to
yeah.
try and get a response out of those players very, very quickly. Get a couple of wins on the board, get some confidence back in the squad, get the supporters back on his side, and just do the best you can for the rest of the season. And, he can implement his own signings in the summer, because you'll get more money in the summer, that's for sure. But
No doubt about that.
in
Yeah.
the summer, you'll probably go and get another goalkeeper. Probably try and improve that defense.
See, see that,
And
see that,
yeah,
see this is my dream, right? This is my dream. I've been saying this for a good couple of years, right? A keeper who I wish we did get. Now, Joe, when we were going through the Courtois deal,
mhm,
I was sitting there going, if you have the balls, offer try get Kilo Navas.
yeah, yeah. I remember you saying,
Kilo Navas is a keeper I've always wanted. And Tuchel managed Kilo Navas at PSG. So if he is going to sort out the goalkeeping situation, bring in Kilo Navas. First and foremost, bring him in, because he's a very consistent goalie. He's not everyone's. If not everyone's going, oh, Kilo Navas, he's up there. Kilo Navas is up there, but he was underestimated at Real Madrid, because he was amazing at Real Madrid, but they wanted that big money goalkeeper, so he was pushed out. He's went to PSG, done well, got to the Champions League final, won leagues. So you can't say he's terrible. He's a really good goalie. I think he'd sort out our thing. And also, he'd go with Thiago Silva. They've got chemistry in the back. So can't say no to that.
Well, it's all changed at Chelsea once again. So I'm not going to wish you luck for the rest of the season because you're one of our rivals.
Oh
Um,
yes, I would never say
just
this.
just just one final question before we move on to the red side of the table, if you like.
Okay.
When are you going to change back to a City fan then?
Oh, you know I was never a City fan. Look at
Which,
look at this man. Are you trying to get revenge on me because I came into United training with that Suarez Barcelona t-shirt? Is that your revenge?
no. I got my revenge when I halved you.
Oh yes, he did. Yes, my leg was rather sore that day. I deserved it. I think as soon as he signed, I was like, this is getting bought right now. So,
Me and my boots went right. He's getting done. But
that's exactly what I think I looked at it and I just seen the rage in her eyes. I was like, oh God, what have I done?
all
What
right,
have I done?
right. Let's move on to Liverpool. Again, like yous, a couple of weeks ago, it didn't look like there was many problems at all. Um, but we've gone from quite clear at the top to not even to be fighting up for our lives of the top four now. It's not great. Many problems arising, but not a problem. But I think they've ran out of steam. I think for 3 years we've been at full pelt. Chasing City for 2 seasons we were chasing City. Last year we obviously got them. Still at full pelt. But once we'd won the league, I think the results started to go down again. I think, but we just kind of went,
Yeah.
oh, that's just fatigue. That's they've won it now. They don't need to do it anymore. But then we started the season with that same mentality, really. I mean, the Aston Villa result, I hate going back to it, but that I think was a big sign of things to come. You can't go to 7-2 to Aston Villa. You just can't. We had Virgil van Dijk at the time as well, so we can't even say it's because we didn't have Virgil. It's not as big of a crisis as you, nowhere near it, because at the
No.
end of the day, I mean, I was very, very impressed with the performance at Old Trafford on the weekend, although we lost 3-2. I thought we had a little bit more of our attacking swagger back. I thought Salah's goals were pretty good, especially the first one. That was a very confident strike. So I think that's been our problem is we haven't scored enough goals. Still keeping the ball quite well. Defensively, we haven't been too bad. Okay, we gave it a penalty against Burnley, but I don't think our defense has been too bad. I just think we lost our swagger a bit, and the player just got a bit too knackered. I mean, as an outsider, what do you think?
Uh, I kind of agree with you in the sense that they've kind of run out of steam because he's overachieved maybe in the last couple of seasons.
Well,
He's
we
deserved it. Don't
we
get me wrong.
we spoke about when we spoke with Chelsea about the fact that you will never get to a stage where you'll do a 3 or 4 year project type thing. But
Yes.
Liverpool did do that. We done it with Brendan Rodgers. It didn't quite work. We were very, very close to winning the title. 2013-14, of course, had a unfortunate moment with Gerrard's slip against your lot.
This slip up.
Yeah, we won't talk more about that.
Yeah.
It didn't work out, so we got rid of him. Brought Klopp in, and we did it again. And it has been a 3 or 4 year project, absolutely. I mean, in Klopp's first season, you go to a League Cup final and a Europa League final, which was very good. Yes, you lose them both. Then the following season, you get yourselves into the top four, which is great. And then at the season after that, your first season back in the Champions League, you go to the final. You lose it to Real Madrid because your keeper is fucking dog shite.
Yes.
I will always say that I do feel we were good enough to beat them on the day. Of course, Salah injury didn't help as well, but Karius those 2 mistakes is just horrendous. But anyway, but then you had the mentality to go back the next year and go and actually win it. and then the year after you win the title. So yes, you got, and it's been the majority the same starting 11 really, apart from maybe one or two additions. Obviously, the difference between 2018 and 2019 was we had Fabinho. Fabinho was brought in, and obviously Alisson Becker. So those are big additions. But apart from that, really, the squad's been the same, to be honest. And I think they've just gotten to the point now where they've kind of done everything. Yes, they haven't won an FA Cup or a League Cup, but I don't think they're going to lose too much sleep over that. And I feel like we've kind of helped ourselves in terms of we haven't maybe freshened up the squad as much as we maybe could have done over the last
Yes.
couple of years. I think we've got a couple of players who need to be moved on. I think Ox
Mhm.
needs to be moved on, in my opinion. I think Origi's time is done as well.
Yeah. The magic of Origi has been worn off.
Unfortunately, yeah, I think Shaqiri probably will move on as well. I think, although he's, don't think he's had a couple of good performances recently, but I still don't think he's
But
good enough now. I think he'll be moved on.
Yeah, Shaqiri's not the level of player that should be starting for a team that won the league and won the Champions League, for example. Shaqiri's a great player, don't get me wrong, but he's not that elite level. Like he's not your Salah or your Mane's. I think the thing that you've done wrong with you need to think of because this season's you were dealt a bad hand at a couple of points because when Van Dijk got injured, there was like who plays there, right? Like then Gomez get injured for a bit as well. You had that whole scenario where defenders were getting injured, so your defense was depleted. So maybe if he's had a couple of defenders that he bought beforehand that were not just squad players, but they could go in there and nothing would really change. You still have a solid defense.
It's interesting you say that because it's not the problem of the fact that we've lost Virgil van Dijk, Joe Gomez. The problem is we've had to move Fabinho into
Yes,
centre back, or we've had
He's
to
played
move
centre back. Yes,
Henderson as well, and they've done a brilliant job. That's not the problem. The problem is you take them out the midfield. That's your problem. You lose that in the
yes,
midfield.
yeah.
Liverpool don't concede many chances. Let's be honest. Not many teams dominate Liverpool these days at all. If any do, maybe you could argue United possibly did in the second half at Anfield potentially, but there's not many times Liverpool are completely under pressure all the time. So you can kind of afford not to have your best centre backs at the moment. But the problem is you take Henson Fabinho out that midfield, you lose that drive, that aggression in the midfield. And we've been playing Wijnaldum, Shaqiri, and Thiago at the moment in midfield. And Thiago needs to find his way still. I think he's still a good player. I'm not with this talk about how he ruins our midfield or whatnot. I think that's a load of bollocks.
The whole thing about the Thiago thing is he's haven't won a game where he started.
He hasn't started many though.
Yeah.
He only had his first start. Was it Newcastle or I can't remember if he started against West Brom. I know he played. I know he started against Newcastle. And then he started Newcastle, Southampton, United. That's 3 starts. I don't think that's fair
Yeah.
to judge him on that. But it's a fair point. It is a fair point, but I would say it's probably not too fair to judge him like that.
Yeah. If you started 20 games and you didn't win, let's say half of them or
Exactly.
15 of them,
Yeah,
then you can
exactly.
say,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly
Uh,
that.
I think that he's part of a lot of people that are fine. The attack, even though he's went through a few games we couldn't score, the attack is still strong enough to do the business, right? Midfield, because you had to rotate Fabinho in there and Henderson had to move. The midfield was a bit depleted in a sense, but the boat was rocked, so that obviously changed. The defence, because I remember Robertson getting injured for a game or two, so then that was a problem. But then again, this is where Klopp should have been given resources to bring in players, so that wasn't the case. Because this is the part where I think you're using good problems of your own. If Klopp brings you in 2 Champions League finals, Europa League final, Cup finals, and a league, you've got to back the man after he does all that. He has been backed, but again, you've sold a few players, and that's where the funds have came. So
It's interesting you say that because I kind of I half agree with you. I mean, I'm not in the boat personally that our owners is the problem. I don't think Klopp is a manager that likes to spend loads of money every single summer or bring in loads of players. I think he likes that loyalty in his squad. I think
yeah,
he likes to, obviously, the summer you bring in Fabinho, Alisson, even Virgil in the January, that's a fluke. He doesn't normally do that. Even Ox as well. Let's not forget
it
about
was
him.
needed. Those signings were needed though.
But if you look at it before that or even after that, we haven't really done much in the transfer windows.
Mm.
I mean, not last summer, but the summer before we won the title. I think the only player we brought in properly was that young lad Van den Beek and Adrian. So I don't think
Mm.
don't think Klopp is a manager that likes to spend a lot of money. I think he likes to keep the loyalty. I think he likes to not spend too much and bring in youth and make them into world class players. So I think
Yeah,
that's why it works so well with the ownership and Klopp because they both like to operate in the same way.
yes,
There's a lot of talk about Mbappe, is he going to come to Liverpool or not because of this Nike deal or whatnot. That won't happen because Liverpool will never offer him the money that he wants ever because that's not how they operate.
yeah,
Um,
and also people saying, "Oh, it's about this Nike deal." There's so many teams that are Nike associated, so I don't see that as being anything. But here's something I think you mentioned Continuo there or whatever. But this is what I've been told. Do you still need to receive 60 odd mil from Barcelona for Coutinho?
there's still some fees, yeah. So we still got money coming in from Coutinho because it was done
It,
in not
installments.
installments. That's what I'm looking for, yeah,
But
installments.
yeah, Barca are skint though.
I'm
So
not
you need to
sure.
look
I'm not
there.
sure it's that high. I don't think it's that high. There is money still to come, but I don't know if it's that high. Um, but that's against Barca. That's a discussion for another day. That's been I mean, you want to talk about a club that who have spent, it hasn't worked, and now got themselves into shit. Barca, we could talk about in the next one for sure, and I'd love to do that
Yes.
actually. That could be something we could talk about. I just want to bring up something that Cal has said. He's talking about Bobby Firmino should be taken out, should be got rid of.
I wouldn't say get rid of.
I'd, I,
I'd
th-
I'd say
we,
he needs to, we've discussed this for a year now in other podcasts where I said he's not a striker that scores goals every week, and that's the problem. But every other aspect of his play is terrific. But
I would
he's a
argue,
striker
I would argue with that this season because
this season.
I don't think this
This
season
season.
he's been as effective at what he's done. When throughout his time at Liverpool, Firmino has never been thought of as a striker. He's the centre forward slash cam who just drops in, does
Yeah,
all the hard work, chips in with a few goals, and lets Salah and Mane do all the scoring or whatnot.
he's your false nine who plays as a centre forward behind the striker cam. Who like see if I look at Liverpool's formation, it's two wires, him as a cam just behind them, and then they both attack and he gets the balls to them.
But what
He gets
happened was that we brought in Jota. We
and
brought in
Jota's been
Jota,
great. Yeah,
and he is a striker. And it worked an absolute treat having three
yeah,
players who are all going for it, all can switch around, but are all wanting to score.
yeah,
And Bobby's never been able to do that, so he's kind of had to try to adjust his game slightly to be a bit more selfish or whatnot, and it isn't him. And I look back to um, the United game at Anfield last week or whatever, and he had a couple of chances, and top strikers bury them, but he isn't that ruthless finisher in my opinion. I don't think he ever has done. He's had some ruthless finishes, some unbelievable goals. That's not what I'm saying at all. But a ruthless striker buries them, you know.
yeah.
And I think we have missed Jota. I do agree with Cal. We have missed Jota a lot. And I think if we had, I I don't like thinking like this, but I also can't help not thinking like this. I think if we had Jota over the Christmas period, we probably would have picked up more points than we actually did. You
Yeah.
know, Jota's hit the ground running at Liverpool. He really has, and I can't wait to have him back. And
Yeah,
it's
he was a terrific signing.
And when
Because I
Jota
mean,
and when he comes back, sorry, and when he comes back, Firmino's pressure will he won't feel the pressure as much anymore. So when he comes into the team, he won't have that pressure that he's the only one, he's the one who has to score. He can jump in and out of the squad, keep doing his thing, and it'll that's my opinion of it anyway.
because Jota was a signing that at the start people were going, they gave Wolves this amount of money, but then as soon as he started playing, oh bargain. He went from really expensive signing, who was just at Wolves before, but now he's scoring goals every week, Champions League, League Cups, you name it. So you're kind of going, he's worth it, and he is worth it just now because the games he's played, and then you can tell when the games he's not been there, you've missed him. So he's definitely worth the fee he's paid. The fee's not really the question. Uh, but yeah, the question asked me, my opinions about Liverpool. I don't really see. There's no problem with Klopp's management. There's no problem with the team. The players are playing for him, but they were just dealt a bad hand with injuries and other things around it. And
Yeah.
I think it's outside problems that they couldn't control that I think have contributed to them slipping down the table. But they'll get up there. They'll get back
Yeah.
up there.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, look, we've had the roller coaster of our lifetime with Klopp. We really have. I've never enjoyed supporting Liverpool as much in my life. Going head to toe with City, going to European Cup finals every other season, whatever it is. Eventually win league, which I never thought was going to happen because we'd gone so close so many times. And to go
yeah,
and not just win it, but be absolutely miles ahead of anyone, was very, very nice to see. And we've kind of forgotten what it's like to actually have problems in
yeah,
with the team as fans because we've been treated so highly to. I mean, look at Man City, right? Obviously last season wasn't great for them, and even the first half of this season wasn't very great for them. They had to go for that 12 to 18-month period where teams figured them out, and they had to go and find themselves again. And I remember the game against you. I hate to bring it up because I know you don't want to think about it, but the game against you at Stamford Bridge recently, that was City back to their best, and they've been at their best ever since. And that's why I think
yeah.
they will win. They win the league. They're more ruthless. Their passing is crisper. They're not just passing it. You know, just side to side very slowly, looking for that special gap to reappear. They're forcing it. They're moving it quickly, and they're frightening.
Yeah, yeah.
They're actually creating
Yeah.
chances again. Um, so it'll come. Form is temporary, class is permanent. It's an old saying that I like to think of. We will come back from this. We're not going to win the league this season. Unfortunately, we're not going to retain it. Would have been nice to, of course it would have, but not many teams have been able to retain it. I think you guys are one of the very few that have back in 05, 06. I think it was 04, 05. You won it in 05, 06. You retained it, I believe.
Yeah, they retained it because we were unbeaten for like 82 home games.
So, I don't like this talk.
Which was brought back again after the Burnley result. Yeah,
You couldn't win the Champions League though in that period, could you? Remember what happened at
yeah.
Anfield 04,
It took Di Matteo to win, is it? Out of all the managers we brought in, all
I
these high
know.
profile managers, it took Di Matteo for us to win it.
Mental,
Yeah,
absolutely mental. But listen,
yeah,
it's at the end of the day, it's football. As football fans, we love to take it seriously because that's just who we are and whatnot. And I love that fact. And of course, unfortunately, as much as you want to win every week, it doesn't happen. You're gonna go through a sticky period. I mean, the one
for teams to win, there's teams that have to lose.
exactly that. I just hope United don't win it. I'm sorry, I'm a Liverpool fan, so I don't like United, but I've got to say I don't think they deserve it this year. I think they've punched way above their weight. Yes, they've had a lot of late winners, which does show a great team, and we of course got a lot of late winners last season to win it, so I understand that. I just don't think they play great football at all, and I just don't. I feel like they get a lot of decisions their way. I really do. So I
Yeah,
hope someone else wins other than United. I really do.
I think City will win it, but if there was a team that I wanted to win it, who I think are doing well just now, it'd be Leicester.
I was just gonna say to you, Leicester, what Brendan Rodgers has done for that team is really, really good. He's done a wee project himself, kind of, brought in a
Yeah,
couple in then. But, what he's done with that team is they are so good to watch. And also,
they are ruthless.
they're so solid as well, the back. They really are solid. Not many teams can score a few goals against them. So, let's hope
I
Leicester
mean,
are up there at the end of the
when you've
season.
when you've got when you've got such a loyal set of players, and also Vardy, who I think could get in any team. When you get him, see if you're a midfielder and you get Vardy as a striker with you, you must feel so confident and so calm, because if you all you need to do, play the way you're playing, and if you hit a chance to Vardy, it's game set done. If he's usually 1-on-1 with the goalie, so for Leicester players to have a player like that, and Maddison must be loving it there. Maddison, another amazing player, scored against us,
Mhm.
destroyed us.
Mhm.
You've got him, who he's an incredible player, him as well. And you've got all the other players around them as well, like Tillmans, who I started following Tillmans during career mode days when he was at Anderlecht. So
Yeah, I
when he was
remember
at
him at Anderlecht.
when he was at 17, 18, he was a player to get in career mode. So I've always knew who Tillmans was. So to see him, I'm like a proud dad these days, to see to see him playing in the Premier League and performing, I'm like, damn right. So yeah.
If you're going to bring that up, I'm going to bring up a couple of years ago before Mbappe got good. I signed him for, I think it was Norwich at the time or something, for a couple mil off Monaco. So I feel like I'm
Yeah.
proud I'm watching Mbappe.
Yeah.
I feel like
See,
I take some responsibility of Mbappe's good form.
see, I would be if Chelsea need a director of football to sort of transfers, look no further than your boy, because I wouldn't do a Bacali and sign you someone who's good in crew mode for one season and is terrible the next. I'd sign you good players. Remember that.
Oh dearie me. Well, it's been a lot of fun, Miller. I'm just gonna do something. I wasn't gonna do this, but I'm gonna do it now. Actually, I'm gonna ask you some quick fire questions, very very
Ah,
quickly.
shit. Okay,
So who wins the Prem?
Man City,
Who wins the Bundesliga?
Bayern Munich.
Chelsea, Liverpool.
What do you mean Chelsea, Liverpool?
Liverpool. Okay. Gerard de Lampard.
Right now, Gerard.
You're not very good at this quick fire thing. You're not meant to think.
Well, right now, Gerard, because he's leading my favourite team to the league title. So yeah.
Oh yeah, the team Rangers. Yeah, it's great to see him doing so well. It'd be great to see. I hope Gerard stays a Rangers for another couple of years for sure. Does a couple more jobs, and maybe it's 15, 20 years he can have a Liverpool job then, when he's a bit more experienced.
I'm surprised you've not got your wee Gerard number 8 Rangers shirt anyway.
You see, it got lost when it was burnt.
No.
Nah,
No.
I remember watching Liverpool Rangers in a charity match over a year ago now with Andrew Gore in Ibrox,
Oh dear God.
and he was a Liverpool player for 60 minutes. He got substituted, went in the change room and put the blue of Rangers on, and I wanted to vomit. It was
See when
awful.
he done that, I was like, oh shit.
And he almost scored as well. And I was like, no, you cannot do this to me. I've not come all the way to Glasgow to fucking see you score against us. Fuck off.
See if he done that, that'd have been savage levels.
I'd have been finished.
But see if he does win the league this season with Rangers. He's a Rangers legend, alright.
Well,
He's one more league title.
you have
He'd
won it.
He'd have one more league titles with Rangers.
Cheap. That's poor. That's poor. We need to get this guy off my channel. At least you got one team to celebrate a title win this season.
Yeah, and you would not think that the roles would have been reversed in the last few years, but yeah,
Right.
he's still undefeated this season, so yeah.
Just you wait. Celtic will go. No, I'm kidding. You probably will go undefeated. And fair play to Rangers. Got nothing against them at all. So enjoy your title win for sure. At least you've stopped the 10 in a row as well.
Yeah, hopefully we don't fuck it up because that I'd probably end up fucking hiding for at least a good few years.
I think he just might have to hide forever, to be honest. Just never show
Yeah,
your face again.
yeah,
Uh,
definitely.
but anyway, I think that's all the topics I had to speak about in this podcast. So we've got to decide then on what the next one's going to be. I,
We could leave that up to the audience.
we could do. What I'll do is I will set a Twitter poll on my Twitter. I think most of you have got me on Twitter. If Connor's still here, maybe he can link my Twitter or something in the chat very quickly. But yeah, I will leave a poll. And if you've got any suggestions as well, just let us know. But I think this is a good format. I think last time we did the podcast, we tried to just do a sort of weekly match roundup type thing. But I think having just a proper topic to talk about is a lot more enjoyable to watch and obviously
Yeah,
to do
yeah,
so.
because I've been doing more podcasts these days on my other channel, Supergroup. Everyone get to it. I've only been doing just podcasts these days. We're just doing weekly podcasts, so I've kind of get better in that sense. Because the way we were structuring it before was we'd go through if there was like if there was 5, 6 games, we'd go in and talk about all those games, and the podcast would last almost 2 hours. So like an hour podcast where we just go and talk about our teams right now. That's kind of good because the people who ask questions today, they can get involved. Because when we done podcasts last time, we recorded the shit, we didn't actually stream it. So there wasn't interaction as well from people. So I think this is definitely a better way to go about it.
Well, I'm going to obviously, export this and put this onto the YouTube channel so people want to somehow
Yeah.
watch it back. I don't know why you ever fucking would, but I
Cheers, man.
red flag saying I'm taking the piss and I think they are English Division 4 team. He said, "Come on, Accrington." He also said fuck Chelsea as well, which I agree with.
You're lucky I can't see these comments. You're lucky I can't see these comments. I'm stuck between Discord. Can't see that shit.
Oh dear me. But anyway, it's been a pleasure to have you on, Miller.
No, always pleasure.
And I will put a Twitter poll down. I think we'll probably do it same time next week.
I'm down for that, yeah.
If you're free, we'll try and do one once a week to start with, and if we get some momentum going, we might up it to 2 or something. But we'll just leave it as 1 for now.
Cheers.
But thank you for coming on. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
I shall indeed.
I've already got somebody to raid. We're going to raid my good mate Jord. I'm not sure what he's playing at the moment. But go and check him out, guys. Go and show him a lot of love and support. And that's all from us. So take care. I'll see you in a future stream. Ta-da. And we're done. Not bad, Miller. Not bad at all.
Not bad at all. No Ryan Rust there. No Ryan Rust there. Ugh. Oh, Jesus.